Hello, I'm Alex Lafkus, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about issues fishing in a boat for people who typically wade fish. This is one thing I take a lot of people who haven't done a ton of float trips. This is why we land fewer fish than we should. It's usually line control. People wade fishing have a tendency to, I don't know, maybe just be a little slower. They're used to being able to take multiple casts at a spot. Not as quick with line control because they're used to the current sweeping on the line and getting tension in there quicker. Well, in a boat, you don't have some of those things going on. You need to be the controller of the line, not the current. So, a couple things to think about. One is when you are casting, when you let go of the line, I see a lot of people like to just drop the line. We don't want to do that. What you want to do is make a loop out of your forefinger and thumb to shoot the line out of. It's just another guide to your rod. Boom. You can stop it where you want it to stop it. You pinch the line and it goes directly under your stripping fingers. That is very important. So it's just a loop of your fingers to your other two fingers, go. We don't want to drop the line. Anytime you drop the line, you're going to have slack and you're going to induce slack into your presentation, which is only going to hurt you on the hook set. Tension is the most important thing into getting a good hook set, and it's where most people fail or mess up. So we need to correct that. First step, when you cast, let line go, pinch, stop, start stripping, okay? Another thing that goes into this is your cast. A lot of people like to rush that cast and it flops out there in a big pile with your line. Your curly cues everywhere. Look, those curly cues are just going to inhibit your ability to set the hook. Slow your cast down. Don't push it too hard. It's what everybody around here does. We force the cast too much. Don't do that. Slow down, tight line. You want your land line straight. If my land line's straight out there, I pinch the line and I strip, the first time I pull, that fly moves. That's important. That is your first chance to engage a fish. Your fly hits the water. If you've ever fished a pond, you know what happens when something hits the water. Fish might spook, but they look. Or they come and just poke right at it. What was it? If it lands and crashes hard with your sink tip smashing the water, they're gone. It's over before you even started stripping. So work on doing that. Soft landings, tight line, strip once, fly moves. Now you have good contact. When you have good contact, you can begin your presentation. But until you have that contact, you have no chance. So if your cast does land with a bunch of S curves and curly cues in it, strip it as hard as you can. And I don't mean just strip it. Strip it. Use your full arm. Pull in 6 feet, 3 to 4 feet of line at a time. Boom, all of a sudden the fly moves. Now you're tension. Now you can fish. Okay. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to land my fly. Most of our rivers here have, you got like a shallow flat before it drops off into the main basin. So in the spring in higher water, those fish tend to be jammed into those eddies, which means you need a precise cast. A lot of times as the water starts falling off, you find them off the edge. Now, even in high water, you find your big fish off the edge. Your bigger fish are usually off that edge. 20 to 22, 23-inch fish, whatever. They'll push the banks. When you start talking 25 and bigger, those fish don't go shallow very often. If they do, it's dark. So look for those more off the secondary edge coming off the bank. Anyway, I'm trying to land my fly straight on that shallow flat so I can strip, and get it to the drop off and then stall. Now, if I have tension that whole time, my line's still up high in the water column, so now I can stall it on that drop off and let it start falling. Then I can go back into my tree using the pauses to fish deeper. Okay, so what I want to do is if I'm coming out over multiple shelves, I'm going to burn it off the first one fast, stall it on the edge. I'll start working it off that edge, and if there's another shelf, I'll stall it there and let that line fall again. So you're really fishing the contour as you step out into the main river channel. It all starts with your cast landing tight, stripping it, and having tension. If you don't have that, you're dead in the water. Now, part of this goes into the next step, which is the hook set. The biggest thing people struggle mightily going into the boat when they're used to wade fishing. People wade fishing are used to feeling it and the fish hooking themselves. Basically, a lot of times you're swinging it. You're kind of letting the tension do a lot of your work. Well, in the boat, that's not it. Those fish come at it. You're kind of floating with the fly. Fish come at it, eats it. Well, now you've got to make the tension. This is not a strip. You strip till you feel that rod load, and then you set the hook. It is not. I see so much of this, and that costs people fish all the time. You really want to be cautious of that. Strip more than you ever think you'd need to. Making sure you feel some tension in there, and then you can start using the rod to fight the fish. But until you have tension, that rod won't do anything. Pulling it, jerking it, it's not going to do you any good. You've got typically bigger flies, bigger hooks, bigger rods. The tip is not enough to penetrate. It's got to be the strip set. That's why it's so important to have tension throughout your entire cast. Because if you don't, you will miss every fish that bites. Because you won't have the tension necessary to set the hook. And I just see it repeatedly. It's no big deal. I'm pretty much over it at this point, but I'd like to see people do better. Those are really, it all comes back to line control and having more tension. Hook set's critical. And one other thing that kind of goes into this is, how do you land the fish in the boat? I see people drop anchor and try to strip the fish upstream to the boat. That is by far the worst thing I've ever seen. I think it's terrible. Usually you pull hooks that way. Usually what I want to do with my clients is I'm trying to have them use the belly of the fly line to keep the tension so that we can land that fish. What that means is, if you hook your fish on the left side of the boat, you do everything you can to land them on the right side of the boat. Okay, you're using that belly. That belly is going to sweep like this. Keep it engaged, keep the tension so that fish will come around. If you move that rod and try to switch them like this with that rod coming up, you throw slack into there and you're going to lose a lot of fish. Do not go to that side unless you have to. Same thing the other way. If you cast to the right, hook a fish, you want to drag that fish to the left side of the boat, try to hopefully land them on the other side. One thing I do that I believe puts more fish in the boat, and you can talk to some of my clients and they'll know, a lot of the difference they see fishing with me than on their own is, if we hook a fish, we land a high percentage of them. It's critical to get on these fish. You don't typically fish brown trout for the fight. You fish them for the bite. They don't pull that hard. They'll want to bulldog you and stay deep, and you can lift on them. What I do with clear communication to my angler is tell them I'm going towards that fish. Once that fish does its few freak out stuff and it starts shaking and rolling on the surface, I tell my clients immediately, I'm going to the fish. I'm going to the fish, so that they know. Communicate clearly with your clients or with your fishing buddy, whatever. And push down on that fish, keep in tension, and then you'll be able to decide how to spin the boat, how you want to take the fish. But try to get them in the net quick. Don't drag them upstream to the boat. A lot of people end up doing it because they're used to fishing some river where they throw the anchor and they never leave. Well, whatever. We're not dealing with that here. We want to chase these fish, get it in the net. That's the most important thing in my world. Land that fish. The line control is the most important thing for people to work on. And it all starts with the cast, guys. Slow down, feel the line, let it unload. You will be more accurate. Your fly lines will land softer on the water. You're going to catch more fish. Casting is the biggest thing in fly fishing. Spend time. Make sure you can do it well. Tight line cast, we as freshwater fishermen fishing rivers and current have a tendency to twist a wrist. Terrible habit that I had forever, because you're throwing whatever kind of loop for a dry fly or whatever to get your good drift. Well, we don't want drift. We don't want slack. A lot of dead drift fishing is managing slack to get a dead drift. This is tension fishing. This is saltwater. This is bass fishing. This is what it is, where you have to have tension. This twist in your wrist will kill you. It's putting a hook in your line one way or another every time, and it's going to hurt your ability. Really try to drive with your thumb. Drive with your thumb. If you see somebody casting like this, flawed. You're never going to be able to be as accurate. I had to be taught that saltwater fishing. You never get in a situation until you're in dead flat water and it has to be straight. Then once you start fishing that way, you learn how much better everything can work. I think the biggest mistake people make in Michigan or in general in instructing people is they just kind of teach them to flip line out versus teaching them how to cast perfect and then put slack into a cast. What I'm saying there is, don't just learn to get a drift. Learn to make a cast. Then learn how to put the line how you want in that cast to get the drift achieved. So slow down. Work on your casting, guys. It's going to make a million it's going to make so much difference for you in any of your fishing, streamer fishing especially. You know, people think it's just whip it around and try it. No, no, no. To land fish, you need straight lines, tension, good controlled presentations. Hope that helps some. Let me know DM or in the comments any other questions, concerns, and hope it helps, guys. Good luck out there.